Hello and welcome. Oh, forget it. You know I can't. I cannot do that well, but just wanted to put in a little ragtime boogie there for the theme of this live this morning. We're going to be playing with some rag quilts this morning. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me. It's great to see so many of you in the chat already. It's just been going through trying to watch while I was getting ready and keep up with it. But we have Michelle, of course, here. Welcome to Michelle. We have Vicky. We have Danielle, dear daughter Danielle. Letitia is here with us this morning, as is Mike. Mike, he says he's working in the background. I don't see him. Do you? Hey, Mike, great to see you too. And Sister Debbie is here. Welcome, welcome to you. And Andrea, everybody keep Andrea in your prayers, please. But welcome. Thank you for joining us, Andrea. And Joe is here. Good morning to you, as is Carol is here this morning. June is here this morning. Debbie Williams is here this morning. Welcome to you, dear Debbie. I miss you in the Stitching Cottage. Beverly is here this morning also. Welcome to you. And I think I have covered everyone that is already in the chat. So, how is everyone's morning going? It's a rainy day here again. That seems like a broken record here in Ohio. It just keeps raining and raining and raining. Great time to have a rag quilt to wrap up in and stay comfy cozy while it rains. But Danielle says that my shirt looks like a quilt pattern. Yes, it could be a beautiful, beautiful diamond quilt, couldn't it? Yeah, awesome. And it's the colors of the cottage. Imagine that. But wasn't planned. But good morning to you also, Charlotte. Thank you for joining us. Terry is here. Good morning to you. Mona is here. Good morning. But as you know, it was, I guess about a week ago that I was going through some things. And how many of you, when you're going through things and looking for something or just yeah, messing around or whatever, come across something that you forgot you had or misplaced or whatever, but and it just kind of seems to be, oh, what an awesome find. And you know that I came across a bunch of flannel squares in a container. So, what am I going to do with those flannel squares? I am going to finish them up in their intended rag quilt, and they will be going to a foster child in the My Very Own Blanket charity. And I think there's nothing better that can be done with an awesome find like that than to be able to wrap some child up in warmth and comfort, something that they will be able to call their own and have with them, and also know that someone thinks about them and cares about them. They are loved. But so that is what I will be working on this morning and just going quickly through the steps that it takes in the making of a rag quilt. I know they've been around for a long time. The one behind me that I originally made for my husband is probably around, I know it's over 20 years old and it is still in great condition. He is used all the time, washed many, many times, but they are really good, usable everyday quilts. So if you haven't made one, you might want to give it a try. Your top is the quilter's version of camel. My top? Okay. We'll go with that, Debbie. What's your charity name that you run? It is a oh, you always skip me because it's like it's a long name. It is Friends of Captain Stitches, Heartfully Given, and it is not a 501c charity or 401, whichever that is. I think I said that wrong. It is just my charity group. I do not have an official charity. That is the group that I use, and everything that I do for charity falls within that group, Mona. It started way back when I used to head up and started a Crochet for Cancer. I was one of the local chapters for that and added some other things along with that. And when I was no longer doing that, I wanted to keep up with the charities, so started a group to be able to go along with that, just a Facebook group. So it isn't official. It's just something I do totally on my own. And yes, because I am Captain Stitches, the name of it is Friends of Captain Stitches, Heartfully Given. That is the name of it. And I will drop the link for that group in the description box after this is over. Thank you for asking about that, Mona. And Shirley, I almost said the wrong name. Shirley with around to it is here also this morning. Thank you for popping on and joining us. But let's get into starting on this rag quilt, which the first thing that you need, and you can use flannel or you can use cotton. My preference is a flannel. It rags a little bit better than cotton, isn't quite as big of a mess in your washing machine and stuff when you're using that, but either one is just fine. A lot of times, if you're using cotton, you're going to want to also use a smaller square of batting in between your layers. It won't be as heavy as if you are using flannel. When I use flannel, I do not use any batting in between it. So you are going to need 2 squares for every one of your blocks on your flannel quilt. And you are also going to, whatever you want your finished size to be for your block, you are going to need to cut that 1 inch larger instead of the normal 1/2 inch that you do in regular piecing and quilting, because you are going to be using 1/2 inch seams instead of 1/4 inch seams. You need that extra width of seam to be able to cut and clip, and that is what gives the fraying rag quilt effect on it. Just making sure I don't miss any comments that I need to answer. But you are going to layer, which is different in this also, you are going to layer those squares together, wrong sides together instead of right sides together when you are sewing. And the first thing that you are going to do, and you can decide on how you want your quilting pattern or your, attaching those 2 squares together to be, but the easiest is just to stitch an X right across those, and that will hold it very nicely together. So I have done all the rest of the squares. I saved a few of this last fabric here, and I'm going to catch those because the other ones underneath it, these already have the X totally through it. And that's what that will look like. And that's what holds them together. So I have the other portion of the X. I better switch my, oops, just switch the whole thing there. Switch my needle back to the center position for that. I had it set up for sewing the seams together. Don't want to do that. It'll end up off to the side. But good morning and welcome, Kelly. Great to see you this morning. So you could use your walking foot for this if you like. This is not a heavy flannel that I'm using, so I chose not to use my walking foot. I wish I had put it on though, because when it comes to sewing the rows together, it would have been a little bit better, but that's okay. It is still doable. You don't need a walking foot, but it's an option if you find it's easier for you. So I am just going to quickly stitch the other portion of the X across these blocks that need to go in their place in the quilt. And this is big enough. You can mark that if you need to. I do not need to mark it. And plus, this little green gridded thing that is on my sewing machine that you see all the time is a Sew Steady. It's a grid glider, and it has at at the throat. It has lines to center up and things for when you are doing diagonal lines or when you're stitching, that 1/4 inch off a diagonal line or that. So I can just line that up and I can very easily just follow with my point right on this line that is right here going all the way up, and that guides it. So I don't need to mark things. But that is how you start with making the rag quilt. Of course, cut all your squares out first. And when you layered your two squares together, there are options on that also. You can either have both fabrics the same, like I have decided to do on this one, or you can have them different. So the front and the back of the quilt are going to be different on both sides, but then you need to watch with a little bit more closely on how you are laying out your squares into your rows. But you can do that either way. Oh, and I know, yeah, it was Michelle earlier in the chat that was going on before we started said something about her, I think it was her granddaughter. She had asked her couldn't find panels or whatever that just, were calling out to her for making a quilt. So she had to ask her once again what was her favorite color. And she said, "So blue it is. It will be a blue quilt." And it was like, oh, well, that's nice. At least you have a good night, because it brought back to memory. And this kind of falls into what we're doing today, of when I asked my son, who was a young adult at that time. He'd already graduated from high school and was um off on his own, and I was going to make him a rag quilt. And I asked him what his favorite color was. And his answer was camel. It's like, camel. Okay. It's like, I really didn't think that was a specific color, but anyway, I went with it and it turned out really great to I was just reading Kelly's. All right, she is going to be taking a long weekend. So have a great time, Kelly. But getting back to his choice of camo, it turned out that it worked really well for a rag quilt because I was able to find an awesome um, fabric line of flannels that were, I can't remember the exact name for it, but it was kind of like wilderness, and it had a lot of browns and greens and dark tan beiges, and it had like moose and bear and other types of animals and stuff on it, and then kind of like the forest scenes and stuff, and it worked out awesome for looking like a camel colored rag quilt. And Joyce is also here with us this morning. Good morning to you. It is great to see you. So there, that was very quick in getting the rest of those squares finished. And I'm going to set those off to the side here because I will need those in the rows when I was setting the rows up to sew together in this quilt. I've got a piece of paper tucked in where those need to be put into the rows so I don't forget to put them in their placement as well. She, Kelly hopes to do some gardening when she returns. Awesome. I need to do some weed pulling. Oh, yes. They are flourishing along with all the plants and flower. Oh, Debbie Williams. Debbie Williams gave me a beautiful yellow rose bush for my birthday last year. And I went out to I forget what I went out to check yesterday. Oh, we got pizza delivery. And I went out to get that from the delivery guy, and I looked down, and that rose bush, let me tell you, it is humongous and it is in a full bloom. I would not even want to count how many yellow roses are blooming on that beautiful rose bush right now, but beautiful. But with all the rain that we have been having, yeah, everything is really growing in the flower beds, including the weeds. And so I need to get out there once it stops raining because that's an awesome time to be able to pull those weeds. They come up a lot easier then. But yeah, have to work that into the schedule. But so after you have all of your squares attached together with your X or whatever design you decide to sew across them with to connect them, you are going to lay them out in the rows or the pattern that you want for your quilt. Mine, I am just doing in a scrappy layout, and I have 90 squares, so they are laid 9 across by 10 down. And because I am using 7-inch squares that will finish into 6-inch squares finished in the quilt, it is going to finish measuring 54 by 60, which is a great size for a lap quilt, or for a small child, it would be a bed quilt, but a great size for giving away for charity to the foster um, child program, My Very Own Blanket. God, it is doing so well. The one I got that day is not doing well at all. I'm so sorry, Debbie. I guess I have to give one to you so that it will flourish. Is that it? If we get them for ourselves, they don't do as well. That might be the trick. Kelly says that we just bought a new yellow rose bush a couple weeks ago. Our old one died from a very unusual cold snap during January. Yes, that can happen. And Mama Harden is here this morning. Welcome, welcome to you. So the next step in sewing the rows together then after you have your layout is you are going to also be piecing these so that you're doing it, the opposite. You're not sewing your right sides together for your rows. It's going to be the wrong sides, which on these, there really is no right and wrong, but on yours, if you use different, there may be. And you are going to lay those together so when they open up, you're going to have those seams exposed on the right side of your quilt, not the back side. So you want to lay those together, and you are going to piece those together with a 1/2-inch seam allowance. Oops, and I need to move my needle back all the way over to the left so that I can just follow the edge of my presser foot. And I will get a 1/2-inch seam. And I already have rows laid up and marked with each row, so I know what I'm adding as I go along here. So you just keep adding those together and sewing that 1/2-inch seam. And this is where you'll get a little bit more movement than when you were just sewing the squares together, putting that X through the middle. And this is where, if you have a walking foot, I would suggest that you use it. I did not take the time to go ahead, and didn't want to switch it out during the live, and it is working okay. It's doable without the walking foot, but I would highly suggest that if you have one, you use it at this point. June says that she has a flower bed that is going to get weeded this morning. It is nasty. Oh, I totally understand that. I have a flower bed that is right off the front of the stitching cottage. That is, I think that's one of my, well, no, the one out front, the curved part coming off the deck is, whoops, I almost pulled the wrong from the wrong stack there. We better move that farther away so I don't grab that by mistake. My favorite one is the curved one that goes around the front and the front deck, but I do love the one that is also in front of the cottage. And Kelly says that she has never tried a rag quilt before. Well, you might want to give it a try because it is a really quick and easy quilt to do. The hardest part is the most time consuming and could be a little hard on the hands is the last part. And we will get to that part too in showing how that is done. Michelle says that she made a queen-size denim and flannel rag quilt. Ooh, heavy. A twin-sized, a lap quilt, and covered a cheap pillow after I made the queen. That's awesome, Michelle. Yeah, they are actually fun to make. Utility quilt. That's the term I was thinking for earlier. They are an awesome utility quilt because they will wear very well. And they are the more they get washed, the more comfortable they are. You just want to make sure. And some people take it to a laundromat to wash it. And they will wash it twice at a laundromat before washing it at home because it does make quite the mess in your washing machine. If you are washing it at home, you want to make sure that you stop your washer and clean it out several times so it does not clog your washing machine up. And because I know and have talked to people from laundromats, if you are going to take it to a laundromat and wash it, please be courteous. Clean up the mess from that laundromat washing machine when you are done. Don't leave it for the workers there. They really, really do not like that. And it is quite the mess. Any of you that have made them and done that know that. So, yes, it is nicer going to the laundromat and doing it, but be courteous and clean that mess up as much as you can before leaving. So as I said, my layout is 9 across by 10 down. So when I get this done, then because I have the first 3 rows already sewn together over there to and keep it flowing instead of taking forever to get to the points of being able to show you the next steps. I have done some pre-piecing before starting this live. Okay. Kelly says she has a friend that washes quilts in a kiddie pool. And the Siberian Wind is here with us this morning. She says, I managed to get back to the studio. Glad to catch you. Well, welcome, welcome. Good morning. It's great to see you again. And I hope I don't miss anyone popping in while I'm looking down at the sewing machine. If I do, I'm sorry. And once again, if you do have a question that you want to make sure I see, make sure and tag me in the comments by putting the @ kept in stitches in front of that. It will highlight it and I will see that amongst all of the other chat that is going through. And Christine is here with Katie Crafts. Good morning to you. Awesome. We missed you yesterday. Just saying. But I think I have one more to go on here, and then we will show how you sewed the rows together on this, which that is where if you're going to make a mistake, you may make a mistake because it's easy to turn it the wrong way when you are doing that. And I hope I didn't jinx myself by saying that. Wow, we've used a lot of bobbin already. It's like always check that bobbin, never fun to run out. Okay, so this row is done, and you will see the back does not have the seams that are going to be ragged. That's only on the front. So you do have and you can use, I mean, when you give it away, they can decide which side they like better, whether they like the flat side or whether they like the rag side. Either one is just fine. And Christine says, I wanted to join the chat yesterday, but my schedule got too busy. And I totally understand that. Just so you know, you were missed. So, okay, so I'm going to take this and I am going to put it front side down so that I remember with my fingers on that because that's the top that goes to the other. So I remember and get that on there right. And I am going to grab this one on the underside so that I make sure I do not turn that and not stitch it on correctly. So you have the flat side to the flat side and the seams that are up. And when you are sewing this together, you want to open those seams. And if you have clips instead of pins, it is great to use the clips to make sure that these seams stay flat and open and together while you are sewing those rows together. It will because it's flannel and I'm not using my walking foot. Move a little bit on you. It's not as critical or as noticeable if your seam doesn't line up exactly because you are going to be clipping these. They are going to be raveling. It's going to help camouflage that a little bit, but you still want to try and keep your seams lined up as well as you can, just so you know that there will be a little shifting with the flannel because that's just how flannel works. It's a stretchy fabric and it will shrink up a lot on you also the first time that you wash it. And Kelly says, okay, I think I get it now. Yes, and before you run, I will show you that there are also these awesome scissors that came out with the rag quilts were all the rage. They have the short little end on them again, which makes it very easy for when it comes to clipping all of those seams about a quarter inch up, about a quarter inch, half inch apart. So that is what makes them fray and rag. Also, those come in very handy for that. Those are Fiskars. I got them a long time ago, probably either at Joann's or Walmart. I'm sure that Amazon has them now. It didn't exist back then. Aging myself, aren't I? Yes, there was a time before we had Amazon. Hard to think of that now, but they will come in very handy. And especially if you have arthritic hands or problems with your hands, you will be very happy that you have those scissors when it comes time to clip and trim all of these seams so that they rag. So I will just continue to get all of these clipped open and flat. Okay, and now we are going to also sew that seam with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And if you have a stiletto or a little purple thing, you might want to have it handy to use when you are getting to those seams to help you with some of the ones that just want to be a little, not want to play along with you while you are doing this. That will come in handy. And Mike is back in the is back in the chat. I'm laughing because he says, "Hi, Jean, I'll meet at Woolworths." That's funny. I remember the good old Woolworths days. Oh, That's funny. Quite the comedic this morning, Mike. You missed me looking for you in the background. You said you were working in the background, Mike. I turned around and looked in my background. I couldn't find you. Oh, he is buying elevators in the background for work. See, there he is. He says he's in the background again, but does anybody see Mike in my background? I don't see him. Mike, if you're back there, pop your head up so we can see you. Oh, I'm sorry. Trying a little humor in there today. Humor's good for everyone at times, yes. But and this is where when you come to all those that's a little bulky with one, two, yeah, four layers of flannel there when it comes to those seam allowances. So that you will find, and like I said, if you had the walking foot on, that would help some. And I can see that that might catch my mouse and move things. I'm going to try and get that out of my way. Mike is waving from the back. Okay. Oh, what did Danielle says? Can you pour me a cup of coffee, please? I can't pour you. Well, I could get up and pour you one, but you wouldn't get it. But thank you. I'll take a drink of mine since you said that, Danielle. Good. I have hazelnut, not creamer, hazelnut flavored coffee this morning. Every once in a while, I like something a little different. I hate when those notifications pop up in front of the chat. Can't they just stay away while we are chatting? Must they interfere? But as you notice, I hold that seam allowance down with that purple thing as I go down there, and I keep checking to make sure that they are down on the back side also. Yeah, blending in with the colors of my of my flannel here, which I know some of these will look like they are blue. There is no blue in this quilt. It is all purples and pinks. Danielle says that's okay. I'll just need a bag of sugar then. Okay. And Mike says, see, Jean, I love hazelnut coffee. Yep, we are soul siblings. We most certainly are, Mike. And see, this is where that flannel is wanting to move just a little. So you want to catch that, slow down a little bit, catch it with your little purple thing or stiletto, whatever you use. I have multiple ones for this. I just pulled out the purple thing. It seemed to be working really good for it. And it's fun to say purple thing. Oh. Except now they make the purple thing in different colors. Have you seen that? I've been tempted to get some because they now have them in pink and turquoise also. Danielle says she loves mocha coffee. All right. And Michelle says her favorite color, purple. All right. Good to know. Yeah, there we go. Holding that down again. And once I get this on, I will have enough. I will be able to show you how we clip and how you finish, how you do the finishing on this quilt, even though it's not at the point to be finished. I have enough that I can show you that step. And you see me keep lifting it up to make sure that those seam allowances on the back side have not slipped up before I sew that. because you do not want that to happen. Because where your metal plate on your sewing machine is, that is where it will very easily catch a seam allowance and flip it the other way if you are not paying attention. You do not want that to happen. We have, let's see if we can show it on here. Oh, there's a good one. We have kittens with a crown on them in this. Isn't that cute? That little kitten with the crown. A princess kitty, I guess you would call it. I think that's cute. And boy, I mean, this is this has been sitting around for quite a while. I'm glad that I found it. But you know, it seems like those things that happen like that happen at just the right time, because it really was a good quilt for doing for this month's charity, which is the it's Foster Child Care Awareness Month. And one of the charities for foster care is My Very Own Blanket. And that is what this quilt will be going to, along with a couple others. One that I am also working on, which is a Hug and Kisses one. And then I do have a couple that I will be able to add to that and also donate this month for that. So now when we open that up, so far, this is 4 rows, and this is what it looks like at this point. So I'm going to show you what you would do if you are all done doing that. And you are going to start, and I have to start at this edge to have it on the right, because when you are finished with your whole quilt, you're going to want to sew. There is no binding. That's going to be clipped and will be ragged as well. You are going to sew all the way around the outside of your quilt with that 1/2 inch seam allowance as well. So I am just going to go ahead and make sure you have that seam open. I'm going to start down here up away from where I am going to be adding on far enough. I think I'll just go ahead and start right before that seam allowance and stitch that 1/2 inch all the way around right now. And I am going to back tack on that just to make sure it's held. And you want to make sure that you also open those seams when you're doing that step as well. And this is, you will find if you need a quick quilt, because once you do all this, your quilt's done. It's finished. All you need is, if you're going to add a label, put a label on it, and it is ready to be gifted and done. Tracy, did I say hello to you earlier? I don't remember. If I didn't, hello again. But Joyce says that she loves coconut creamer in her coffee. I love creamers, but they don't love me. So if I can find the flavored coffee already, I'm okay. But adding creamer to them, yeah, makes my life not happy. But I love some of the flavored quilters. Flavored, we have flavored quilters. Did you know that there are flavored quilters out there? What flavor are you today? But Beverly says, adorable. Thank you. Yes, I think this is going to be a really cute quilt. So when you come to this corner, you want to make sure that you stop your 1/2 inch away also when you turn. Hoping that is. After years and years and years of sewing and quilting, you can pretty well judge your 1/2 inch and your 1/4 inch without having to measure. If in doubt, get your little ruler out, stick it down there, and check it. I'm going to have to move my row one marker down a little. It was just in the way of getting that done. The rest of those rows now I can take off. I don't have to remember what row it is. They're added on, they're in place. And so you went up the side as if that was your side. Now I'm going across the top of it and go down the other side as if I was going totally around the whole outside perimeter. Oops, see where that almost slipped on me? Caught it just in time. And Brenda is here. She says she's a little salty quilter. Okay. And I'm sure Brenda is probably at work right now also. We have several of those. Of course, she does not work from home, but yes, it's nice seeing those that work still being able to jump in on a chat now and then so they can catch it live instead of it always having to be a replay, which replays are awesome. Also, nothing wrong with watching replays. It's just not always the same experience as getting to be there live for those of you in the chat. Looking for the rest of the quilt underneath here. Make sure we don't have that under there. That would not be nice. And once again, this quilt is laying on top of my keyboard and everything right now because, of course, I could not move that out of my way. So working in a bit of a smaller space than normal here. But it is still very doable. Time to load the truck, says Kelly. Enjoy your weekend. I'm sure you'll let us know and share pictures with everyone. And now we're ready to come down the other side. Whoa, guess what? I air sewed. We are, oops, put that. I just ran out of bobbin. That much before turning that corner. Guess I lost that bobbin chicken today. So I have another one ready. I always keep my extra bobbin up on the bobbin winder there so I don't have to dig for it when I need it. I always have it sitting up there ready for me. So we will continue on with bobbin. It wouldn't be fun to continue on without it. Dip this thread. Okay. So we're off to the races once again. I have to remember where I am here. Okay. Refresh my memory, which end or whatever part of this I am on. That back up. And it will look much better with thread there. Glad you caught it. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't. Yeah, I'm glad that wasn't up. It was close to the corner, and I didn't go a long way before realizing that. Kristen says, I just used the last of the cream, so I have to go grocery shopping today. I'm a coffee with cream person. Yes. And Danielle says that she is the same, just went for a refill of my stock last night. I remember that, Danielle. And Brenda is saying hello to everyone. Once again, stopping at that half-inch away, this time with bobbin in there. Oh, my mouse has gone clear over on the other side there. So now when I come to this, I'm going to make sure I don't go down there to where I still need to add on the other rows yet, but I want to go far enough past this seam so I can show you how you clip the, how I clip them anyway. And if I'm going, I might as well go through that one. And we will stop right before the. All right. So now we are going to pretend like I have all the rows on here. And we are ready to do the clipping. And I'm going to try and turn that around, but you see we now have that half-inch that goes all the way around the outside as well. And I'm going to start by showing you how you deal with where your seam allowance is for clipping, because the first thing you want to do, I always do the clipping all the way around the outside last, do all of these first. And you just have to work whatever becomes comfortable for you. I'm looking to see where I threw my scissors. There they are. Because you can decide if you want to go down that whole, seam first, or whether you want to do between the squares first. It doesn't make any difference. Everything is going to have to be clipped. So whatever you find works well for you is what you are going to want to do. But where you come to where we have opened the seam and it's sewn open there, you are just going to start your first clip right there, about a 1/4 inch. I mean, right in, just not, clipping right into that seam. And that will give enough so that you won't even notice then, because on the outside, we will just end up clipping on either side of that. And when it rags up, you won't even notice that. So you are going to continue. It works best if you continue down one side of that clipping, and you want to clip, like I said, between a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch. Mine is probably more closer to the 1/2 inch. And these scissors, by using these scissors instead of others, when you hold them and lay them up to there, it stops without getting into that seam. But you just continue to clip that, and then when you get down to where your row comes together, which is where I'm going to be, you're going to clip. So you leave that there. This seam would be opened, and again you are going to clip. I'm going to try and hold that up so that you can see that. I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but where the seam allowance is, you're just going to clip on both sides of that, and you're clipping right before you get to that. When it goes through the washing machine and is washed and starts fraying, that will fray, and you will not see that intersection, because it's going to be fraying on all sides of it. But that releases that and lets it stand up also, just as if you were clipping the rest of it. And now, so that I know where I am, I'm going to continue to clip on the other side of the seam allowance. And now you see, and you can clip exactly where you clipped on the other side. And this is the part that, especially if you are doing a large quilt, does take a lot of time, just so you know. But that is how it will look then, before it is washed and before it frays. Yeah, all of these. And when you wash that, you're going to wash it 2 to 3 times the first time. And then every time you wash it is going to look better and better and better. And Craft On and So Forth has also joined us this morning. Welcome to you. And Maritza is here. Welcome, welcome. Great to see both of you as well. And I will show you what I'm talking about on these. And on this one, when I did the X across the middle on these, I used a zigzag stitch, and that gave it a little bit more of a design. But you can see, and like I said, this has been well washed, but you cannot even tell when it comes to the seam allowance there after it's been washed and ragged and everything else. It You do not get the appearance of that still looking like it is the seam allowance. So no worries on that if you do it that way. Lay that back. Whoops, back up there far enough so that Mr. Whip down there on the floor doesn't decide to try and steal that and run away with it. But that is how a rag quilt is made. And like I said, what is going to take the longest is once you are done going along and doing all of the clipping. But, sit down with a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, or whatever your favorite beverage is, and in either your favorite spot in your, I was going to say your stitching cottage or your sewing room, whatever it may be, a good program, or watching YouTube, catching up on the YouTube channels that you never seem to have enough time to catch up on all of them, and just clip away. And before you know it, you will have that done, and you will really look forward to throwing it in the washing machine and seeing how beautiful your finished rag quilt comes out. And so there you have it, how you do a rag quilt. And are you using flannel or cotton? I am using flannel on this one. You can use cotton. And as I said in the beginning, if you use cotton, many times you will want to use a thin layer of batting in the middle if you are using cotton. And if you are using cotton and the batting, you need to cut that batting square a ½ inch all the way around, smaller than what you cut your outside square, because you don't want that in the seam allowance where you are going to be clipping that. So if you are cutting your squares at 7 inches, you would cut the batting at 6.5, and then your squares are going to finish at 6 inches. And that should be the correct measurements. Thinking off the top of my head there real quick. And Beverly says, very nice. I haven't made a rag quilt. Danielle says, that's beautiful. Thank you. And Sandra is here. She's late with those 3 flowers. Welcome to you, but morning to everyone. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, it was fun, and it won't take any time now at all to sew the rest of all these squares together into the rows. Add them to the quilt because there's 10 rows total on this one. As I said, 9 across and 10 down makes, if you cut your squares at 7 inches, will give you a quilt that finishes at 54 by 60. So that is how it is. And, if you have graph paper or color chart and you're not sure how you want to lay all your squares out, this is what I did to come up with a layout. I wasn't sure whether that's what I was going to stick with, but because it wasn't planned on the layout ahead of time, I did not have enough squares of each color. I was going to try and lay it out in a trip around the world, but I did not have enough of the same colored squares, so I was not able to do that layout. You would have to plan and make sure you cut them accordingly to have it enough to come out with that. Or if you want them all to be diagonal the same, you need to make sure that you're cutting and plan that ahead and have enough of the same squares for the layout that you want. So That is our rag time this morning. And for those of you that weren't on the beginning, you're probably lucky because yeah, I can't sing, I can't doodle, and I tried to do a little ragtime. But we will not end it with that ragtime. But that is and I'm sorry, before we end there was an announcement that I wanted to make. This won't apply to all of you, but some of you may be interested. But I will be doing a virtual quilt retreat, and it is for members of the channel only this time. Not to say that there won't be in the future that is for non-members of the channel, but this virtual quilt retreat is for members of the channel only. There will be information on that in the members only Facebook group, and you will need to register for that. We have a pop-up notification there in the way again. But it will be a 3-day, 3.5 day, whatever, but a 3-day virtual quilt retreat on Zoom. It is along the theme of the name of it will be the Birthday Bash Virtual Quilt Retreat with Captain Stitches. The dates, if you want to save those dates, will be June 14th, 15th, and 16th. That is a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I do realize that is Father's Day, but we should be finished soon enough on Sunday or whatever. Those of you that have plans for Father's Day, you will still be able to fulfill those plans. And it is a come and go as you please. We'll be doing lots of fun things during that, but there will be, I wasn't going to, did some figuring and had to change that. There will be a $10 registration fee, and that does include the registration fee. It will also include the Birthday Bash goodie box, which what will be included in that goodie box is a project kit that includes everything for that project. It will be mystery project quilt. I'm not letting you know what that is, but and it will also be filled with all kinds of special surprise birthday bash goodies as well. So that I wasn't going to charge it all, but then when I just started thinking about all the shipping expense and everything, decided that yeah, I did have to have a a little bit of a fee to help with that. And Danielle is asking, when does registration open up? I have already put the announcement in the members only Facebook group, so you will be able to find that there. After I'm done with this, I will be going in and making up the form for the registration. I will be adding that information there so that you can download that. And once you fill that out, registration will begin sometime today, Danielle. The deadline for the registration will be May 26th. Deadline with payment will be May 26th, so that I can be assured of having those kits made up for everyone in the mail in time for everybody to have received theirs before the 14th of June. So there won't be any problems with somebody, okay, here we are starting the birthday bash retreat and somebody didn't receive their kit. So that is why we have that deadline. So if you are not a member of the channel and this sounds like something you may be interested in, you might want to check out the membership. But anyway, it is this time for members only of my membership, and they are called the Stitching Friends. What else? But anyway, it's going to be a great time. I have lots of fun things planned for that, and my head will not stop with plans. So I hope that those of you that decide to register and join in on that Birthday Bash virtual retreat coming up June 14th, 15th, and 16th will have an awesome, awesome time. I may take some of you outside your box of thought when it comes to stitching and quilting, but it's going to be very enjoyable, I assure you. So that is the announcement that I wanted to make. I'll definitely be there with bells and party hats. Who knows what might be in that box, Danielle? But anyway, yes, thank you very much. So have a great Today is Friday. Have a great weekend, everyone. And I will see you very soon again. Take care and remember, in the meantime, I can keep you in stitches. Bye bye, everyone.